Nobody can justify this, and nobody can say this guy should be in jail for this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Welcome back to the JP React Channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. Now, an important voice in the freedom fighting community much of the time is Joe Rogan. So he recently spoke about the corruption that's being exposed by the Trump trial. No surprise to you and I. However, I think Joe Rogan, he's a very curious thinker, so I was very intrigued to hear what does he have to say about this. So in this short clip, we'll see him and his friend and guest, Tony Hinchcliffe, discussing it. Let's take a look.
But what's scary is how many Democrats are willing to allow this kind of stuff to happen. But a lot of them are aware of it. There was this one lady that went viral, and she was talking about it, and she was saying, you have to understand, like, I'm not a Trump supporter, I don't like Trump, but this is really dangerous for democracy.
It kinda is. Think about it. By the way, something I called months ago is, hey, if they convict Trump and if they get Trump sentenced to prison, to get him out of the way, they're going to try to strip his Secret Service of him, even though a president's supposed to have that for a lifetime. And I did see a Democratic senator or congressman propose some kind of bill that would strip Trump of his Secret Service. And for the love of God, hopefully that doesn't happen, but I saw that plan in action. Anyway, dangerous for democracy. Go on, Joe.
Nobody can justify this, and nobody can say this guy should be in jail for this. It just doesn't make any sense. And especially if you wanted to look at past presidents with the same scrutiny, there's so many instances.
Bill Clinton paying Paula Jones hush money. I think some other women as well, but like there's like the same thing.
Things that you could go, and this was one of the things that Obama had said when Obama got into office. They were talking about George Bush and Dick Cheney being charged with war crimes. And he was saying, we're not going to look to the past, we're going to look towards the future.
Now, I kind of like that and I kind of don't. I'll tell you why. The idea of politically persecuting political opponents or the other side for the sake of getting the competition out of the way, don't support that. Not good. Like, what democracy at that point? Not a good thing. Obviously, that's what they're doing with President Trump. However, I believe presidents and politicians should be held to the standard of law. Like when you look at all the Congress people doing their insider trading stuff, Nancy Pelosi, just best stock market mind of all time, somehow, no insider trading there. And that's against the law. Yet they do that. And I don't think that falls into the category of if we were to hold them to the same standard, bring them to justice, file the appropriate charges if they are doing this insider trading crap. I don't think that falls into the place of political persecution. That's just saying, politicians, you're not above the law. And we don't like it when you're above the law. And there's too many examples of them getting away with way too much in the way of crime. So if someone actually commits, or we have really significant reason to suspect, politician or ex-president or current president in Biden's case, blatantly committing crime, of course, they should be held to the same standard that you and I are. But politically persecuting opponents, completely different thing.
Like, we're not going to prosecute anybody. You imagine if when Obama got into office, if he decided to prosecute Dick Cheney and George Bush.
And I do question that might have been a good thing. Yeah, could have been a bad thing. I don't know.
Crimes against humanity.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh my God. You know how crazy that would be? Do you know how divided the country would be then? Well, that's the same thing kind of that is taking place now at a lesser scale, obviously, because it's not a war crime you're charging someone with, but you could charge Trump with war crimes. You could find some things that he did.
He didn't start any new wars. He was ending wars. So the military-industrial complex could fund some sort of like prosecution campaign, like charge Trump with a crime of not being in wars. It's actually the only thing you charge him with there.
Especially with bombings and even what Obama did. Obama, during the administration, they dropped a drone on a U.S. citizen. No trial, no nothing.
They gave Obama the Nobel Peace Prize for doing that, by the way.
Boom. Yeah.
Trump didn't go for Obama. He didn't go for Hillary, and he could have tried them for things.
Yeah. Well, especially Hillary.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole email thing, the deleting of the emails.
And supposedly Trump's the crazy one. Trump's the loose cannon.
They're all crazy. That's what they don't want you to know. It's like sluts that are always talking bad about other girls who are sluts.
It's pretty good analogy, actually.
Like, It's what people do. It's a thing that, people, that's not me. I'm not like that. It's just a weird thing that people do. And people form teams and they justify why they should use any means necessary to silence the other people on the other team, the opposition. And they don't even realize they're setting a precedent. And when this mother gets in office or another gets in office that's a Republican, you've got real problems now, kids. If the elections are real, that's how it usually goes. It usually goes one side wins and like, this fucking sucks. Let's try the other way. The other guy wins, like, oh, this is bullshit. Let's try the other way.
By the way, Rogan had a very important disclaimer. He didn't really expand on it too much, but I believe he very intentionally used the term, if elections are real. I think that's an appropriate phraseology. We'll get back to corruption in just a second, but first, here's a question. Will you have what you need when the next crisis strikes? Election year. Remember how during the last one, they restricted medications that could actually help you? Well, now it's time to unenslave yourself and take control with the Emergency Medical Kit by the Wellness Company. This prescription medical kit that you can have on hand contains 8 life-saving medications, including ivermectin, amoxicillin, Z-Pak, plus a medical guidebook telling you exactly how to use them. Just a couple weeks ago, I started coming down with something, so I opened up my emergency medical kit and I took plenty of our favorite horse dewormer, if you know what I mean. And it helped me quickly rebound and get back on my feet because I already had it on hand. Take control and be prepared. Ordering yours takes less than 2 minutes and you can get it at twc.health/jpreacts and use the discount code JPReacts to get 15% off and free shipping. Once you've paid, you complete a 2-minute intake and your kit will be delivered right to your door. No waiting or expensive doctor's visits where they would probably refuse your request for these medications anyway. All 8 of the prescriptions at your door in approximately 2 weeks. Get it at twc.health/jpreacts. Now, back to the corruption.
This is what we've done in this country over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We go Clinton to Bush, Bush to Obama. It's what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we do. We always do it this way.
Yep.
You change the way people are allowed to go after political candidates, and you change the way you're allowed to silence and imprison your candidate, then we're like Mexico. We're just not assassinating people yet. We're like a third world country. We're like a banana republic. We're letting things other than the will of the people and what's best for the people, what's running the thing. We're letting the thing be run by the people that are in power, that are corrupt, that want to keep the power. Because it's not just Biden. Biden is barely there, right? It's all the people that are working there. You got to understand, there's this huge team behind them. They don't want to leave, get on LinkedIn and fucking try to get a new job.
Try having the credentials of like, dude, I was Biden's presidential Pampers changer. Do you want to hire me? I don't know that that's going to help you get hired.
Start sending out your resume.
Yeah.
I work for the worst administration ever.
Right.
I was one of the people,
And one of the points Rogan made a minute or a minute and a half ago was, if elections are fair, our track record is we elect a Democrat, then the pendulum swings the other way, we elect a Republican, then the pendulum swings the other way, we elect a Democrat. And sometimes those, whether it's a Democratic or Republican president, will have an 8-year term, like W. Bush, Clinton, Obama. However, in my lifetime, the only exception to that rule where there's been one party having 2 different candidates elected as president consecutively would be the Republicans with Ronald Reagan. I was born in 1981. And then the next president was George Bush Sr. And then from there, it's always done this pendulum swinging thing. Cool. George Bush Sr., then we elect Bill Clinton, then we elect W. Bush, then we elect Obama, then we elect Trump, then we elect Biden. So in theory, Biden could have another 4-year term. That's pretty questionable if that can happen in a democratic kind of society. But if it was, cool, Biden's reelected, we would definitely question that. And then after Biden, it's, Gavin Newsom Newsom, and then after that it's like, oh, it's AOC, and then it's Michelle Obama, then our eyebrows are not only raised, but I think we got our, Civil War on our hands because people won't buy that. But with that said, this is a little perspective from Joe Rogan. I think a very important voice in not only America, but the world, because he's got tens of millions of people that listen to him every single episode, and he's talking about the corruption that's being exposed in the Trump trial. And one of the good things about the Trump trial, from my point of view, is it is in fact exposing corruption. The corruption is no longer hiding in the shadows. They probably still have some of it in there, but it's in broad daylight. The only thing that can keep you from seeing it is what George Orwell quoted from 1984. The party's final and most essential command was to get the people to betray the senses of their own eyes and ears. The only way you don't see the corruption, in my opinion, is if you decide to betray what you're seeing. If you allow yourself to be convinced that you're not seeing what you're seeing, then you won't see the corruption. But at this point, it's obvious. And I would dare say the more corrupt, in a way, the better, because the more obvious the corruption is, the more it's waking people up and motivating people to take action, say what they think, and letting their actions follow through on their principles to create change in this country that we want to see, unless you want complete totalitarian control. So with that said, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, thank you for watching. I will look forward to seeing you on our next video. But until then, always remember, truth conquers.